This is an exclusive presentation of WOWO 1190 AM and 107.5 FM, Unholstered.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome on in here to another edition of Unholstered. My name is Kayla Blakesley. I am just one of your hosts. If this is your first time tuning into Unholstered, this is a show about the local media teaming up with our local police department here in Fort Wayne, Indiana, to share and tell all of the stories that don't often get told. And I do this alongside my co-host, Sophia, who actually brings credibility to this show.
Oh, thank you, Kayla. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sophia Rosales-Catina. I'm a captain with the Fort Wayne Police Department, and welcome to Unholstered, where we're giving you intimate looks into the Fort Wayne Police Department and our community members that work with us to make this community safer and better. So thank you for listening.
Today's topic is one that I've been really anxious to get to for quite some time, and it's the topic of social workers alongside, working with, however you want to word it, with police departments. Obviously, specifically today, we're talking about the Fort Wayne Police Department. But Sophia, before you introduce our guest that we have here in studio, why is it that you think, in your personal opinion, as a member of the Fort Wayne Police Department, that this topic has gotten so contentious in the last year or two?
That's a good question.
It's a loaded question, isn't it?
It's a loaded question on several fronts. Yeah, it's too early in the morning for this. But I think sometimes people have a misconception on what their actual function is in the police department. They're not replacing police officers, at least not here on our department. They're assisting us in making things work better, making the processes smoother, making the resources more readily available, and lending their expertise in areas where we simply don't have it. We can be knowledgeable in a lot of stuff, but these people are really experts in what they do. And having them work with us has been such a bonus for this community, as you'll find out here really soon. But we wanted to spotlight the HART team, the Hope and Recovery team, because we are constantly on this show trying to keep the fentanyl crisis in the forefront, because this is really what's affecting this community in great numbers. And we've talked about that on the show before. And I think keeping this information going for the public is just going to help us combat this problem more readily. So today I brought in Detective Ripley and Darcy Robbins. Detective Ripley works in the Vice Narcotics Division, and Darcy Robbins is one of our two social workers, and we have another intern as well, that came on board in the middle of last year with some grant funding. So I'll let them introduce themselves. Go ahead, Jeff. Oh, Darcy first, ladies. Sorry.
Oh, boy. Hi, I'm Darcy Robbins. I am an MSW, LSW with Fort Wayne Police Department, and I help out with the HART team and just connect people to services, and I help other officers out in the field with mental health calls and things like that.
I'm Jeff Ripley. I'm a detective with the Fort Wayne Police Department. I just got my milestone of 20 years in November.
Yay,
I'm actually.
congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Can I be honest? I would not have taken you for a detective with the police department.
He gets that a lot.
Boyish good looks, charming personality.
Yeah, exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth, Jeff.
I spent most of my career in narcotics as an undercover and also as an interdiction officer. 2 years ago, we started the Hope and Recovery team through the Fort Wayne Police Department and through the Lutheran Foundation and Lutheran Social Services. So that's where I'm at now.
Let's be really clear about something. And it's something that you said, Sophia, but I just want to emphasize it because, again, kind of going back to where this unfortunately can be a controversial topic. And like I said, I'm not really quite sure how it got so controversial over the past couple of years. But folks like Darcy, you are not replacing members of the Fort Wayne Police Department. You are there to work alongside folks like Jeff. So walk me through how that works. Jeff, do you call Darcy? Darcy, I mean, how does this all come to fruition?
I guess I'll just start off how our typical day begins.
Yes.
Every day I get to work and I'll run police reports on overdoses and things of that nature. If somebody has not been arrested or doesn't have warrants or anything like that, we will actually go and cold call those individuals after they have left the hospital. We go to their houses, hotels. If they're homeless and we know where they're located at, we will go find those individuals. We give those individuals a packet of information on how they can go about getting treatment. We hand out Narcan. We will give transportation to anybody that wants it, whether it go to methadone clinics, to the hospital. We'll take people to go get food for them. We're out there to help the individuals that people these people have been forgotten about.
So there's not, sometimes I think there's also a stereotype there that you're out to, I don't know, throw everyone who's, I don't know, dealing with drugs, whatever, into jail. And that's really not what's happening.
Yeah, we do not arrest people.
Yeah.
Our job is to go out and try to help people before they get into the judicial system, We want to get them before the courts. They get into the court system.
Yeah, we simply cannot arrest our way out of the situation. It is too large. And I think people need to understand that what we're doing is working. The numbers that we're seeing in this community are working. There's still a lot of work to do. There is an enormous amount of work to do, and we don't have enough people to do it. We just simply don't. Budget restrictions, hiring restrictions.
Drug arrests? What do you mean?
In terms of helping people in this community, in terms of doing what they're doing right now, because we could use a lot more boots on the ground and doing what Jeff's doing what Darcy's doing, but through funding, we just don't have the amount of money to implement those things. But those, you'll see in a little bit how these numbers are really large and how they're working. So,
Detective Ripley, how do you go then from, let's say, you're out in the streets, you're doing your thing, to a point where you've got to call in someone like Darcy?
Darcy's very good at the mental health aspect of everything, because we know that drug addiction and mental health go hand in hand. I'm not a social worker. I'm not a therapist. I'm not licensed in any of that, and I admit that. And when it gets to the point when we're talking to an individual and we can see through our training experience that, hey, this person's suffering from a mental health problem at this time, I'm not even going to try to dive into that. I will call Darcy and Sam and let them know where we're at, and they will always make the scene, or we will pick up that individual, drive them to Darcy and Sam, and make an introduction and just sit down, and I'll let Darcy and Sam do the talking.
Yeah, what happens at that point then, Darcy, when you are called into a situation?
Yeah, so I assess right away what's going on. So as a social worker, we're trained to kind of go off the cuff and assess what's going on. So a lot of things it's the comorbidity between substance use and mental illness. So substance use is a DSM diagnosis. So that in and of itself is a mental illness, technically. But also a lot of co-occurring disorders are anxiety, depression. There's some sort of trauma in the history of them, especially childhood trauma. So we just try to, in the short amount of time that we have, or in however amount of time that we have with this individual, we'll try to kind of briefly assess, okay, it sounds like maybe you're having suicidal ideation. How do we kind of help you right now? Are you like a harm to yourself or others? How do we get you connected to that help first, get you to baseline, so then we can maybe start talking about treatment and recovery?
You mentioned another person named Sam. So are there two social workers then with the Fort Wayne Police Department HART program?
Yes. So there's Samantha Taylor and myself.
And Sophia, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Chief Reed say you'd like to expand or grow that program this year?
Ideally, that would be what we'd like to do, but it just depends on budgets and grant funding. Sometimes they're here on grants right now, so if we can find additional grant monies to bring more people on, I think that would just benefit this community. But again, we're kind of stymied by the funding for it.
So then what happens next? You kind of make your diagnosis, I guess, if you will, and then what happens?
Yeah, so it just depends on what the person wants. So it's always person first. So let's say Joe Schmo, he is ready to go into treatment. He wants to get off of whatever he's using, whatever substance he's using. We'll get him connected to treatment, and the guys will take them there.
By the guys, you mean like
yes,
Jeff?
Jeff will take them there. And so we'll follow up. So the really unique thing about our position is officers really have time to help that one person in that one moment. So we are uniquely designed where we can help that person and the family around them. So that person's in recovery, let's say, or that person is still in active addiction, not ready to get help. But maybe mom is really wanting to talk to somebody. Maybe a loved one is ready to talk to somebody, and we can get them connected to services and follow up with them on their journey of recovery too.
Do you find most people are cooperative and say, hey, yeah, Darcy, I want help? You both are nodding your head, kind of.
Yeah, I think it just depends on where they're at with readiness. Are they ready to admit that they have a problem? Are they in that change talk? Do they, I see that this impacts my day-to-day life. I see how maybe I can't hold a job or keep a job because of this addiction. And some people aren't ready, and that's okay. But what we'll do, I call I tell people that I'm a professional nagger, and so I just
like me.
I call them and I say, we're here for you. We're gonna support you, even if you're not ready to go to treatment. The HART team is here. So maybe they're not ready. Maybe they're not ready to, talk about that. But we are still here to support, because the opposite of addiction is connection.
Yeah, that's pretty remarkable, though. So you just, okay, you don't want help. See you later. Take care, Joe. Good luck. I mean, you're still there. Just you use the word nagging, so I'm going to say it too. Nagging.
We put the bug in their ear.
You do.
And we give our cell phone numbers, and they'll call us. They just want somebody to talk to. They don't have a lot of people left in their lives. Unfortunately, a lot of people have just given up on their family members. So we're there and we're building trust with that individual. We're not, as the police officer side, we're not there to get them in trouble. We let them know that. We're here to help them out. We're just somebody to talk to. Call me on a Saturday night before you use. If you're going to use, give me a call. Let's talk through this first. If they use, unfortunately, they still do. But we're there. At least I know where they're at in case something bad happens. I can get somebody there for them. To help them out. We're just building trust with them. So when that time does come, when they say enough is enough, I know I can call this person and they'll help me.
I think the general misconception too with recovery is that these people want to be out there using, and more it's the addictive brain, right? They have no control over this. It's their brain has changed from what it was normally like with the use of the drug. And for recovery, you really have to be at a point where you're making that decision. I cannot make that as a mother for my son or my daughter or my mother, my father, my brother. They have to make that choice for themselves. That recovery only starts when they're ready. And as much as we want to force people into recovery and just go, if it's not there on their own volition, it's not going to.
Correct.
It's not going to take. It's just
so it
not
sounds
going
like
to.
y'all are on call like 24/7.
Yes.
Is that accurate statement?
We do have a telephone number that we do give out to everybody. It's 427-5801. And that's our HART Line. Now, if somebody would call that, it goes to a voicemail, but we try to call them back within 15 minutes.
Wow.
So then when we are off duty, we take turns on call, and one of us is assigned that either that weekend or that night. So we will call people back.
Best guesstimate, how many phone calls you get in a day?
Ooh, it just depends. I think like in the summer, our calls get up a lot higher than in the winter months, but
Yes.
Why is that?
it's nicer weather.
Yeah.
People are outside. People are congregating more. Winter, it's cold. You don't really, a lot of people want to recluse in the wintertime. Isolation starts, seasonal depression starts. Summer, it gives that flourish of dopamine just like a drug does in your brain. You see the sun, that dopamine is in your system, and you're ready to talk to somebody or at least have conversations.
Interesting. Okay, so I kind of want to break this down to, again, where it does maybe get perhaps a little controversial. And I don't know if you can even tell me this, Sophia, or not. But in terms of criminal calls, I guess, versus mental health calls. Let's say you get a call in and you know it's a mental health situation, which, again, does that happen? I mean, you know one versus the other? Does that happen?
Depending on how the run comes in, it could be a mental health call versus.
Well, let's say y'all know it is, or maybe Detective Ripley, maybe it's a question for you. I don't know. At that moment, do you wait to call Darcy, or do you call her up and say, hey, girl, you're coming with us because we know this is a mental health crisis situation? Because I think that can also be sometimes where a little bit of the controversy does come in.
Right. Darcy works primarily in the HART division. Like we have, so it's separate from what our CIT program would be. So she doesn't work so much on, she may follow up with people that we do CIT with, because a lot of times the people we're dealing with are actively in addiction as well. I would say that's probably generally the situation. They're using some type of substance. So that's a follow-up for her. She does not go out with us like when we get the call. Even when they get those calls on their 5801 number, that's
which is?
the HART number, 427-5801. When they're getting those calls, they aren't an immediate, like a generated run, if you will. What they're doing is on their kind of own, and they'll generate a run if they need to do that. So they're not directly going out with an officer to a mental health call.
Well, but that is happening in some
It could be, yes, but
departments.
it's not happening in this community.
Right.
And we've spoken to that before, and I would really, bringing a third-party civilian into a possible volatile situation worries me, and now I have an extra person to worry about. So that's, we can have that discussion at a later time, not to take the time away from the HART program here, but that's something that we probably need to have as a community. And our chief is willing to have that talk as well. He's done really, really forward thinking in implementing a program like this, and it's taken off. It
is really forward thinking, and like you guys have said, it's working. You have the proof that it works, and you wished you had more boots on the ground to do so.
We're just not going to arrest our way out of this. We're just not.
Right.
There's not enough jail space.
Mm-mm. So, okay, I want to go back to Detective Ripley. You decide to call in Darcy. Mm-hmm. Let's say they need transported to, I don't know, where do they need transported? I guess, where do we go from there?
It depends. So a lot of times they'll need transported to a recovery residence. So they'll need to do 30 days worth of detox first. So that's when Ormiston comes in, Ormiston and Ripley come in and they say, all right, we'll take you to Avenues Recovery. We'll take you to, and they do it on the spot. So they'll take them there. We'll follow them there. We'll watch them walk through the doors into recovery. We'll give them a hug. We'll contact them while they're there if they give us permission. And we show up for them. We continue to show up for them even if they're in detox
Y'all
and recovery.
Are like the unsung heroes that people just don't even know about. I mean, I didn't even learn about having social workers alongside the police department until Chief Reed was in the studio talking about some plans for 2022. And he said, hey, we'd like to add some. I'm like, hold up, you have some currently?
We're just making a lot of headway moving forward. We're seeing what works with our community, and that's good leadership, right? You're not afraid of failure. If this program failed, then we'll try something new. But right now, it's not failing. It's actually working. And like I said, we're not going to arrest our way out of this. We're not going to be able to put everybody in a little island that's addicted to something. I mean, that would be most of our community, because most people probably have an addiction that nobody knows about, whether it's alcohol, drugs, shopping, gambling. Someone usually has something, and we need to come to terms and find what that underlying issue is. And Darcy and I were talking just before the program about trauma, and it's usually childhood trauma that leads people to start taking these drugs to begin with. And that's what we need to start focusing on, is why are people taking the drugs? Why are they getting started with the drugs? What are they trying to mask? What are they trying to numb? Those emotions, those feelings. And we need more therapy. We need more therapists, counselors, things like that. So, if you're going to go to college and want to major in something, then try, a counselor or a therapist.
Yeah. Do you usually get to the root cause then with a lot of folks?
Yeah, because we'll have them. We don't have an end date for our cases or our clients. So we'll be with them. I've been with a client since I started in August. We've been working with the family, and we're really starting to get to the underlying issues now. He's connected to treatment. He's connected to therapy. So he has that well-rounded care that he's getting. So we don't have an end date. So we could have clients for years on our caseload, so to speak, and we'll finally get to the root of the issue. But we always connect them because we're just acute care. We're just here to help you in this moment, get you connected to maybe a therapist, maybe other treatment providers who can be more formal and meet with you on a regular basis.
I have the same question for both of you.
Oh, boy.
Darcy, but you can start first.
Okay.
I'm sitting here and listening to both of you talk, and you can tell you're both passionate about what you do, obviously, and really articulate about it. How did you even get involved in this kind of field? Because to me, honestly, I'm sitting here as a civilian listening to you guys talk about it, and I'm like, man, that would be hard. And it would be heavy all day, every day. And like you said, you're practically on call 24/7. So what made you walk down this line of work?
Yeah, so I'm actually a person in active recovery of alcoholism. And so I can share my story with people and say, I've been here. I'm here for you. I've had a lot of childhood trauma in my past, and that led me to kind of numb that pain like we were talking about. And then I just was like, holy crap, I got connected to recovery, especially here in Fort Wayne. A lot of my friends are active in recovery, and they help people in the community. And I was like, what can I do to give back? Wow. How can I help? And so I got my master's in social work, and I was like, this is a new field, police social work. I've always been interested in the justice system and how it works, and because it's so intricate. And then how do we as Fort Wayne kind of lead the charge and say, hey, we're here, we're going to help you. You're not alone. That is the message. You're a person and you're not alone.
I got involved because, quite honestly, I just got tired of arresting the same people over and over and over again, and I was seeing people go into prison, come out of prison, you arrest them again. It happened about 8-10 years ago. I started having, I guess, our confidential informants that were working for us start saying, I'm tired of this lifestyle. I want to get change. And I would start asking questions, and nobody knew where to take them to. Nobody knew, how can we get these individuals help? How can we get them off this road that they and their family have been on that as long as they can remember? So when this was brought to me 2.5 years ago by Captain Hunter, if I'd be interested, it's time for a change. Let's go from this aspect, because as Captain Sophia said, we can't arrest our way out of it. And our system is so bogged down with people going through this system. I mean, I'm still a firm believer that if you're out there dealing drugs, polluting the system, you need to go to prison. Mm-hmm. But that's very few. A lot of people are in the system because they have the addiction. So let's try to, again, get them away from the system and get help prior to going into the system.
How would you compare things now then to, let's say, 3 years ago?
The numbers are going down, I believe. Even just talking with people, we still have a long ways to go. And unfortunately, I wish we had more people doing what we were doing, because I think we could really lower it down.
Yeah, could you guys share with us the numbers in Fort Wayne that you're helping right now? Because I thought they were pretty big numbers.
Right now, we've made contact with over 1,000 individuals. And then we've had over 351 into active treatment in 2 years.
No kidding.
So, I mean, if we had double the people, that's double the numbers we could. And when this first started, we thought, people were going to be slamming doors in our face, telling us to get off their property.
That's going to be my next question, is how you all have been received.
Two people in over 2 years have slammed doors in our face.
Wow.
It's amazing that you go up there, we give them a little elevator speech. As my partner Jeremy Ormston likes to say, we're the concierge of services. We try to figure everything out so nobody can deny us. Yep. There's not an excuse for them, because if they have an excuse, hey, we've got an answer for you. Mm-hmm. So when we go up there, it's, again, people just want somebody to talk to. Yeah. They just want to let their story be told and heard, and we're there for that.
The social workers have actually reached a lot of people too. So we will look at the HART calls, and we'll work with juveniles. We'll work. We'll look and do follow-ups for CIT calls. So we've helped 223 families and individuals, and then we have a social media account, and we do harm reduction strategies. We build out resources there, and on there we've reached over 11,000 people.
Well, that you just took me again to my next question: is how could people get connected with the HART program? Let's just say they're listening right now, and they're like, you know what, I might have a problem, or even if someone does think they have a hint of a problem, how they can get in contact.
Well, they can call our HART line, and then they can reach out to us on Facebook too.
Yeah, the HART line's 427-5801, and then it's just the HART, HART, on Facebook. Mm-hmm.
So then, for you two, Jeff and Darcy, why do you feel like this topic has gotten so controversial? Because I'm sitting here listening to it and I think, this is amazing. Like you said, Fort Wayne's kind of leading the forefront in this, and I feel like every police department needs to be doing something similar. Why are they not?
Do you?
Nobody wants to talk.
Yeah, no, I'm vocal about it. I no shame in my game. Yeah. Funding.
Yes.
Funding's a huge thing. And just the way that our society's going right now, unfortunately, a lot of people are looking at police in a bad aspect because of situations that have occurred across the country. Not all police departments,
Right.
You can't.
That's what this show's all about.
That's what this show's all about. Exactly.
You can't blame all officers for one bad apple.
Correct.
And we're trying to change the way that people look at law enforcement. We're not out there, beating people down. We're not out there just arresting everybody.
The exact opposite. You're lifting them up.
We took an oath to serve and protect, and part of that oath is, we're protecting and serving people. It's not about going out and writing tickets. It's not about making all the arrests. This is serving and protecting people also. It's just on a different level.
And I think what Jeff is talking about is language. Language is really important, especially in messaging. So when defund the police was out there, it was scary. And that's not, and then they thought, let's bring in social workers, right? That was kind of the next thought. Let's bring in social workers instead of officers. I don't know about you, but I am not capable of doing what an officer could do. I think
and vice versa.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if we just change the language to a redistribution of funding. So maybe we get grant funding to help have social workers alongside of officers. I think changing the language would be really important. And that's why it's really scary, because if you hear, I'm going to defund your position, you're going to be very protective of that. If I heard that, I'd be like, whoa, 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 you're not taking that from me. And so I think that is really important messaging, is language is really important. And that I think has changed the game.
Yeah.
I just think that, Jeff and I were also talking about, officers are now calling him, there were drug raids and, hey, can you come help this person out? They need you more than they need jail. And those are huge steps for officers to make. Those are huge calls, because we haven't always had that ability to do that. We haven't always had those resources to call for those kinds of things. Like, this person's going to be better served in treatment than they are in jail. And honestly, there's just not enough room in our jail. We are busy arresting true criminals doing harmful things to other people. And we've had 161 overdoses last year in 2021, and there's still 20 waiting in toxicology. That's our largest number we've ever had. So this problem is real, and it's here in our community, and we need to start facing it. We need to start trying things that may work, and when we find they work, like the HART team, then we need to put money behind that and keep these programs going.
When it kind of goes back to what you said, Jeff, you're arresting someone, they go to jail, they get out of jail, you're re-arresting them, they go to jail. Like, that cycle definition of insanity, right? You're going to do the same thing over and over again, and here you're expecting a different result. Well, finally, something else different is being tried. You're obviously seeing success with it. Is there any way, and maybe you already have, to share what we're doing here with other police departments across the country, or have you been doing that?
Yeah, we've gone to other surrounding counties. We've talked to other police departments. I've taken telephone calls from other police departments. Hey, how are you doing this? How's it work? You come talk to us. There's a lot of interest in what we're doing. It's groundbreaking.
Well, we're going to share it here, obviously, and just shout it from the rooftops. Sophia, we're way at a time already, of course. We do it every week. So what really quick happening next week?
I have no idea, Kayla.
I love it.
It's
a mystery
episode. So
it's a mystery episode. Well, maybe we can elaborate even more on the HART program if we want to. There's really a lot to talk about. As always, if you've missed any previous episodes of Unholstered, you can download Unholstered anywhere you can download a podcast. Your town, your team, your topics. This is Unholstered.
Thanks for listening to Unholstered. Be sure to subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen. And remember, you can listen every Saturday morning at 10:30 on WOWO 1190 and 107.5 FM.
Podcasts by Federated Media.